Hi guys, I'm back. I can't believe it's been 10 days since I did my last tutorial. I honestly actually didn't realise that. I thought it was only like 6 or 7 days. I did plan on doing a tutorial like 3 days ago, and I did do a practice run for it, and then stuff happened and I just couldn't get it done. So I'm doing it today. It's a simple piece. I like to think that most of my tutorials are fairly simple. I don't think you have to be complicated to make something beautiful. But this is quite simple. Just a simple textured piece. So what you're going to need for this is some white clay. I've got my Premo white rolled out onto a number 2. 0 being the thickest setting on my pasta machine, which is an Atlas 150. But what I've done is I've rolled it on a number 2 and then I've folded that in half. So I've got a thicker piece. And then I'm just going to give it a little bit of a roll just to make sure it's stuck together. So that's what you're going to need. I want the piece to be fairly thick. And then I've rolled out another piece of white clay, but this is on a number 4. Okay, so that's a thinner strip of clay. So that's the clay that you're going to need. I'm making literally one pendant, so I'm just going to go with this cutter, which I got from Oh Joy Creations. You're going to need your blades, usual stuff. You'll also need a circle cutter that's gonna look good in the cutter that you're using, if that makes sense. I mean, you could use a smaller cutter, a bigger cutter, but you've got to bear in mind that that cutter is going to accommodate a bead that you're going to need. I'm just using this little turquoise bead, which I will quickly show you. I just bought a strand of them from, I want to say Michael's, but I guess you could get these from any craft store, just a string of turquoise beads, or you could just use one of these stones out of this set that I've got, which is listed in my Amazon storefront. I leave all my links in the description, which is next to the title of the video. Just click on the title of the video or the little arrow and it opens up the information. I'm also going to be using one of Oh Joy Creations texture rollers. I asked her to do me specifically a spiral one and she did, bless her. No, I pressed too hard on it and I got some clay stuck in there, but thankfully it still works. I'll get round to cleaning it at some point. So there's that. You'll also need some jewellery wire. I think this is 20 gauge. I will double check, but I will again leave it in the description in the Amazon storefront. Okay, so that's 20 gauge jewellery wire, blades, roller maybe. Oh, you also need some brown acrylic paint. I'm also going to be using this little silicone tipped brush thing, and one of these, I don't know what it's called. Sorry, somebody just messaged me, I got distracted. I don't know what it's called, guys. Until I go and actually look at the description in Amazon, I cannot for the life of me think what it's called, but it's a tool and it's got these separate strands of very stiff wire in the end of it, and it's just a tool to make texture. So I'll also link that, so there's that as well, and some kind of blade, or you could just use your regular cutter, but it's easier with an X-Acto blade. Acrylic block. I'm just trying to make sure I list everything before I go ahead, because the last video I did, some poor woman, bless her, she got all the stuff out that I'd listed and started to make what I was making, and then I was like, crap, I forgot the liquid clay. Oh, I almost forgot it again. You need some liquid clay, just a tiny drop. So I'm just trying to remember everything, because I would hate that you start doing everything and then it's like, oh, by the way, you also need this, which is what happened last time. I'm so sorry about that. Did I say jump ring yet? If I didn't, you'll need a jump ring as well. I don't know what size this is. It's literally just to hang a bead off, so it's no biggie. This is not a tiny one, but it's not a huge one either. It's an average sized one. Okay, I think I've got everything. And I'm just going to take that texture tool, let's just call it a texture tool, and I'm going to texture the clay, and I'm just going to literally drag it through the clay like this. Boop, 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 straight down, and then you can go in other directions as well if you want to. You don't have to. I kind of like it that way, so I'm just going to do a few, you know, going in different directions. Don't worry about all that bobbly stuff on the top, because I'm going to get my wet wipe and a little bit of rubbing alcohol. It's always a good idea to have this at hand because it's really useful just for cleaning up dirty clay and to rub off little bobbly bits like this without distorting the texture that you've made. Okay, and I think I'm good. You can go as textured as you would like. You don't even have to do this, not that, with this. But I'm kind of doing that because I want to go with, it's going to look almost like wood, grains in a piece of wood. That's what I'm going for. I mean, it's not totally authentic, but you know, good enough. Alright, so when you're happy with your texture, I'm thinking, yeah, that's how I want to do it. So I'm just going to lift this up for the time being. Ignore that bit that got stuck on the bottom. Oops. And I'm going to take that other piece of white clay that I already rolled out. Don't worry about the fact that there's a little bit of dirt on it. I'll clean it. I cannot keep white clay clean, and that's a bit of a mouthful. White clay clean. Doesn't matter how much I clean down my desk or my tools or anything, something always manages to find its way on my white clay. I'm going to make sure that's nicely stuck down on my tile, and then I'm going to get this texture roller and I'm just going to place it on the clay, fairly firm pressure, but not so much that you do what I did that time and just roll. Now, we're not going to need all of this, but I might as well just roll it anyway. Okay, and then I'm just going to remove the majority. Ow! Son of a gun! Be back, guys. Oh my goodness, I'm back. I do not know what is wrong with me this week. Oh, that's like the fourth time. That's like the third or fourth time I've cut myself. I think it's time for me to put some little clay things on these so I know which way's the sharp way. I finally got it to stop bleeding, although it's seeping through that a little bit, but I think I'm able to carry on. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm just going to cut some of this away because I don't want all of this. I'm just going to cut where I think looks nice. I'm just literally cutting a little strip. Now, I don't want it to be... Get rid of that one. I don't like that blade anymore. I don't want the strip to be wider than my cutter, so I do need this one again. So I am just going to cut it a little narrower than the circle, like that, if that makes sense. I hope you can see that. I'm just going to gently lift this up. Goodness me, I don't know what is wrong with me this week. I cut myself there. That's like healed up already though. I did a class on, what day was that? Wednesday. I hardly ever cut myself with the blade. I did that one in the class. I've got another one here and another one here. So yeah, that's 4 times. Oh dear. Alright, so I've got my little strip and I'm just going to place it on top of this white clay, give it a gentle press so you're not going to obliterate that pattern that you've rolled out. And by the way guys, you don't have to use this design obviously. You could use any texture you wanted, and then I'm just going to cut out my shape. I'm trying to keep that as centered as I can so this top bit's in line with the top of the pendant, like so. And I'm just going to cut through that. Oh my gosh guys, you would have, I think you would have died laughing at me the other day. And sometimes I really wish you guys could be in my world in a physical way. But I'm trying to lose some weight. But I've got some health issues. So that's another reason I want to lose some weight. But somebody told me about a rebounder trampoline exercise thing that you can do. It's called rebounder exercise, and you basically do it on a little mini trampoline. So I went and bought one. Well, I ordered one from Amazon and set it up in my living room in front of the TV. Found a YouTube tutorial that I liked, a workout that I liked. I thought, oh, it's only 30 minutes, and they make it look so easy. This is a 30-minute long video. Now, to be fair, all the information on these for this rebounder exercise, you should only really do 10 to 15 minutes when you first start out. I thought, hey, poo, I could do better than that. I can do 30 minutes. It's easy. I got to 14 minutes and 18 seconds, and I almost fell off. I almost fell off the trampoline. I was that tired. It absolutely kills your legs. So yeah, that was kind of amusing. Oh dear. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. Oh my goodness. Anyway, now I'm going to cut this hole in the pendant, and I'm just going to go around about here. Oh dear. Yeah, this trampoline, they make it look so easy, bouncing away, and it looks like you wouldn't break a sweat. I think what made it harder for me is because I've never done it before, and it is kind of tricky learning how to get your balance. So I think that kind of added to how tired it made me. But oh my gosh, it wasn't funny at the time, but looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so unfit. Anyway, all right, so that's basically the pendant, other than to bake it. And then add a bail, etc., which I'm going to make a bail out of clay. I guess I could attach that now. I'm just thinking if that would be a good idea, now or after bake. I'm just going to think about that one. But in the meantime, I'm just going to go inside the circle at the top end of it and cut a slit with my X-Acto blade. And just kind of, you don't have to hold on tight to the piece, you're just being gentle. You don't want to distort it, so I'm just kind of getting it in there and giving it a bit of a wiggle, and then pushing it down deep enough to accommodate that jump ring that I showed you at the beginning. And this is where the liquid clay would come in useful, just to give a little bit of added security. So I'm just kind of just dropping a little bit in there. You don't need a great deal. And I'm going to try and pick up this jump ring with my bandaged finger. And where the closure is, that's going to go inside the clay. So turn it the right way up and try as best as you can. It is kind of awkward, just to pop that jump ring into that slit and then give it a little bit of a push, so you've pushed it some way into the clay itself. I'm just going to get this and give it a little push, And then when you're happy with it being in as far as you want it to be in, just gently press down and around it. Don't press too hard, you don't want to lose that pattern. And then I'm just going to get my silicone tip and just gently blend over that little cut, just to make sure it's nicely in there. Doesn't have to be perfect, nobody's going to see that bit. I'm just going to turn it the other way. Now the back doesn't look that great, so you could actually texture that bit as well, just to hide some of those little ugly bits, which I think I am going to do that. So you could have done this before, but I'll just do it quickly now. Don't press too hard, obviously. Just do the same thing as you did on the front to give it some texture, and it hides a multitude of sins. Get rid of some of those crumbly bits. Okay. Just smooth that circle up a little bit, but you could always sand that down afterwards, I guess. But yeah, I'm really just doing this just to hide some of the ugly bits that were left on the back. Let me find a wipe again. Spray a little bit of rubbing alcohol and just gently wipe those crumbs off. And you've got a nice textured pendant. Do you know what? I think I am going to do the bail now. You can do it either way. You can bake this first, and it might be easier for you to do it that way. But I am actually going to just add the bail now. That way I don't have to do two separate bakes, and then it takes longer for me to get the video out. But if you feel more comfortable, guys, if you're scared of squashing your piece, bake this first and then add the bail. But I'm just going to make my own bail, which I don't do very often, but I thought it kind of added a little extra something to the overall look of the pendant. So you are going to need a little bit more clay. I'm just going to make sure this is perfectly dry. I don't want the piece sliding all over the place. And I'm just going to roll out a tiny piece of clay, just, you know, enough to make a bail with. And I'm just going to roll it onto a number 4, I think. Alright, so I've got my little strip. And I'm wondering whether to do the same pattern, the spirals, or something else. Do you know what? I'll just use the spiral again. It matches then, doesn't it? I'm just going to give this a quick roll. It's sticking, guys. It's sticking. It's stuck. I'll be back. I'm going to roll this thicker. I'm going to take it to a number 3. I think it's partly because I hadn't stuck it down firmly enough on the tile as well. So I am just going to give this a quick roll. Make sure it's actually on there this time. I'll try again. That's better. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to cut a strip big enough to make a bail, and obviously you've got to make it the hole big enough depending on which kind of cord you're going to use. So I'm just tidying this up, and then I want to see how wide I want to make it. I think maybe just a fraction narrower, not too much, just a little bit. and I think that's good. Okay, so get your little strip like this, and I'm just going to use my needle tool just to wrap the clay around it, and I know that that hole as well is going to be big enough to incorporate the cord that I'm going to use, and then it's a case of wiggling it back out of there, which can be a little tricky but doable. Okay, so I've got my little tube, there's the hole. Where you've joined it up, there's the little join, that's where I'm going to place it on my pendant, so you don't actually see that, but I am going to use some liquid clay because it's just so much easier to stick it on when you've got the liquid clay there. But like I say, if you're not comfortable with doing that, if you're scared of squashing your piece, bake it first and then do this step once it's baked. I'm really just doing this for quickness. Okay, so I'm going to take my bail and I'm just going to place my piece back down, and where that join is, I'm just going to gently push it onto there, but I'm going to get my tool again and reinsert that end and just give it, hopefully this is going to work, because normally I do bake first and then add, but hopefully this will work. Oops. I'm thinking it might not work too well, guys, we'll see. But I'm just gently giving it a push on there. And I think it's good. Just gentle pushes. And if you want to make the inside of that look a little better, you can just get a little silicone tool and just gently, you know, press all the way around just to smooth it out a little bit. This actually doesn't look too bad though. Okay, just gonna push that little bit down there, and then this bit here is a little thicker, so just play around with it, but I do advise you to bake first and then add. Alright, so I'm going to go and bake this and I'll be back. Just making sure that's in there nice. I'll be back to show you the next step. Alright guys, this has been baked. I did give the edges a little bit of a sand just to smooth them off, and I tidied this little hole up a little bit. Just remember that you could use one of these little file things. I got a whole pack of them. Some of them are somewhere else, but you do get a whole pack of them. And for hard to reach areas, if you just need to quickly smooth something, these are ideal for that. I mean, I could fit sandpaper in this hole, but if it was a smaller hole, you know, these are ideal for smoothing down some rough edges. Again, I will link those in my Amazon shop. Alright, next stage then. Acrylic paint, and I've just got this brown. I think I would have preferred a darker brown, but I couldn't find it, so I'm just going with this. Any brown you want to use is fine. Now, do I use a brush or do I use my finger? I think I'm going to use a brush, just because, if I can find a clean one. That one's got purple in it. Do you know what? I'll just use my finger. So brush your finger and just liberally rub it all over the piece and on the insides as well, and on the edges if you want to. Just slap it on there, rub it in, make sure you're getting it in those little grooves. Excuse me, I've got an itch. I'm just going to do the front to start with, and I'll get to the bail and the back after. But that's all you're doing, you're just rubbing this paint on there as liberally as this. A brush would be better to get in those little cracks, I guess, but I don't feel like looking for a clean one. They're always covered in mica powder or something. And then while it's still wet, you're just going to get a wet wipe or a damp cloth or something and just wipe it back off. Easy peasy. Now the other thing you could do, if you wanted some of the white, more of the white showing, you could just rub some sandpaper over it if you wanted to, just to get some of that, more of that white showing through. I'm not going to. I'm just going to quickly show you this. Okay, so that's that. And then obviously the back needs doing. Oops, that was probably too much. Oh well. Again, just liberally get that paint where you want it to go. I'm not really bothered about the edges, to be honest. I like to keep those white. But again, you could add some paint if you wanted to. And then just wipe it back off. Get a clean wipe. I'm just going to get this brown off the sides a little bit, and then all that's left is the bail, and I'm just putting a little bit on there as well. So it's quite a rustic look. It's an easy pendant to make. There's lots of different things you could do with it. You could do different shapes, obviously, different textures. I just wanted to give you an idea of what you could do. Okay, and I poured out way too much paint. It's a good job that stuff's really cheap, isn't it? Just clean up a little bit. I'm low on wet wipes again, as usual. I'm just gonna check I like what I've got. If you wanted to add more brown paint, once this layer's dried, you could do that and build it up a little bit. I'm just going to leave it like this, guys. And I'm just going to dry this. And I'm just going to use a dry cloth just to, because I've decided that I am going to add a little bit more brown paint to this section. Just a touch on my finger. I wiped a little bit too much off that, and I'm going to use a dry cloth just to get rid of some of it instead of the wet wipe, just so that stands out a little more. So like I say, you can mess around with different textures, different shapes. You don't have to use brown if you don't want to. Yeah, choice is yours. Next step then, I'm getting my little bead that I got. I'm getting my 20 gauge jewellery wire, which you can get from any craft store. But if I can find it in Amazon, I will link it. Just because that's convenient, isn't it? Just to order something from Amazon. If it's not there, it's because I couldn't find it, guys. But I will look. So I've just cut a little piece of wire, and I'm just going to thread this through the bead, like so. And I'm going to take one end, bend this over so it's like this, turn it the other way. It just gives a bit of a nicer loop, and then just bend it in like that. And then you want to do the same on the other end. I didn't quite do that right, guys. Let me start again. I made that loop too big. I'll start again. I don't often show this kind of thing on camera because I'm actually not that good at it. I'm able to do it, but it tends to take me quite a long time to do something like this because I find it fiddly. So yeah, I'm not very good at stuff like this, I'll be honest. It's just too fiddly for my taste. It's spinning around everywhere. Oh dear. Right, let me try and get that back on there. And then just loop it over. And again, I think that's too big, but actually, I think I'll put that there. Yeah, I think I will. So I'm just going to do the other end. Does help if you actually cut the wire shorter. And the same thing, just bend it over just to make a little loop, which that's a better loop than the other side. Can you see? I'm going to see how this looks. I might have to shorten the wire, but just open up one end and you're just going to pop it on. Yeah, that's too long. Derp a derp a derp. See, told you. Not good at it. I'm just going to get rid of most of that and make that loop smaller. Now have a good laugh at me trying to get it on this. Just pop it in there. And obviously when you're doing something like this, you've always got to keep checking that your bead's going to fit in the hole, that it's going to dangle nicely. And I'm just trying to hook that over so it doesn't fall off. Okay. And there isn't much dangle in that. I've made it a little too big. The bead's probably too big, but you get the idea, guys. It's fine. It dangles a little bit. Okay. Oh dear. I'm not having much luck today, am I? I hope I can make you guys laugh. Even if it didn't work out as well as I wanted, you get the idea. Just bear in mind, like I say, I should have gone with a smaller bead. So it would have dangled a bit better, but it's fine. Okay, last thing you need to do then is to glaze it with something, and then add a cord of some kind. So I'm just going to go off camera, get my glaze ready because I didn't already do that. Derp derp. And I'll be back. I'm back with my glaze, and this is what I use. I found this is the best for me personally to actually make something. It is actually matte, and it's called Rust-Oleum Chalked Protective Top Coat. It's water based, it's clear, and it's matte. Now you can get this. I got this from probably Home Depot. I don't know if you can get it on Amazon or not, but you could find it in a place like Home Depot. But that is the one that I use. Okay. You don't have to use that one, just any water-based matte glaze is fine. I just prefer this one. You do need to give it a stir every time you use it though, so I'm just going to give that a quick stir because it kind of separates a little bit. I'm not sure why it's called chalked, but I think Rust-Oleum have got a type of paint and it's called chalked, and then use this as the top coat, but this is absolutely fine on polymer clay. I use it all the time. Well, I don't use it all the time. I've used it a lot though, and the pieces always look really nice, and it's genuinely a matte finish. I know that with oh, what's it called, Minwax, their matte is not truly matte. So I tried this one and this one works great. So I'm just getting a nice soft brush and I'm kind of dabbing it on rather than brushing it on, just to avoid any brush strokes. And this stuff dries really fast anyway. So I'm just gently kind of popping it on there. And I think I've got something in this brush because it's turning purple. Oh my gosh, guys, today is just not my day. Actually, that looks kind of cool. Oh, good Lord. This can go down in history as one of my worst tutorials, but you know what? I'm leaving it. I'm keeping it. I'm not editing it. I'm keeping it. Luckily this stuff wipes off. Oh, I'll start again. Oh dear. Oh my gosh. I'm thinking I shouldn't have done a tutorial today, but I've done it, and you can watch it or not watch it. It's up to you. Oh dear. Alright, that's better. I've got a clean brush now. And like I say, I'm just kind of gently dabbing it on as opposed to, brushing it on. This really doesn't leave brush marks anyway, but just in case, I just kind of like to do it this way. There's a hair. Ooh. Oh, I've got a bit of fluff in there now. Anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. The bead's too big. I cut myself. I used a dirty brush. Sigh. I'm sure you'll all get a kick out of it. And, at the end of the day, clay is my passion, yes. Do I do it perfectly every time? No. Do I make mistakes? Yes. Do I end up throwing some pieces away? Absolutely I do. I don't claim to be the queen bee of polymer clay. I do what I do. I make my little videos. If people like them, they like them. If they don't, that's fine. And that's all there is to it, really. I like doing them. I enjoy it. I love making stuff out of clay. It's therapeutic. And sometimes it goes wrong, even on a tutorial. But it's not the end of the world. The piece is fine, It was nothing drastic that couldn't be fixed. Okay. So I'd need to leave that to dry and then do the back. Same thing, but I'm not going to, just for quickness. I'm going to leave it as is. And I'm going to add a cord, and I'm going with this blue one, just because it matches the turquoise stone. Yes, I know it's still wet, but I'm just going to quickly show you if I can get my fingers around it. Just so I can actually get this done and out of the way. Oh dear. Please fit. That would be another thing. It wouldn't fit, but it does. Alright guys. Simple textured piece with a nice little non-dangly stone in the middle. I'm just going to find you another one that I did that does dangle. Watch me drop all these. But I'll just quickly show you this one that I made. And I made the hole bigger. The spirals actually look a bit better than this one. I went with the smaller ones. It's all on what you want. I mean, it's the exact same technique, but obviously my bead actually dangles in this one, and it's just the same. Alright guys. Oh, I'm laughing to myself here. Anyway, there you go. A quick, not so quick, simple, not so simple textured pendant with a nice little dangly bead in the middle. Alright guys, have a great week. I'll catch you later. Bye.